Hello and welcome to Online PTE. My name is Jasmine, one of the teachers at Turner English, and today we are going to focus on Module 2, Writing, Task 1, Summarize a Spoken Text. Have you got pen and paper handy for note-taking? How about your worksheets? Have you downloaded them? If so, let's get started. Okay, what is summarized written text in PTE exam? Summarized written text is the first part of your writing section, and as you know, the test starts with the speaking, then it goes to writing, and in the writing section, the first task you will get is summarized written text. What is summarized written text? In summarized written text, you will be given a text which could be 1 paragraph, 2 paragraphs, 3 or maximum 4 paragraphs, but generally they are not long texts and they don't have a technical language, which means they are easy to understand. So you will be given a text and then you need to read the text, understand it, and summarize it and write a short summary. So what you need to pay attention is the structure and the layout of the summary you need to write and you need to produce out of the text. So the summary that you are writing for the text, first of all, has a word limit. The number of words for each summary is minimum 5, maximum 75 words. Even if your passage is like 1 paragraph, 2 paragraphs, the number of paragraphs doesn't matter. Your summary must be minimum 5, maximum 75 words. Okay? And the other important thing is you have sentence limitation, which means you can use only 1 sentence. What do we mean by a sentence? So use 1 sentence only. It means your summary must be 1 sentence only. What do we mean by sentence when we say 1 sentence? A sentence means a set of words sitting together. The first letter of the first word starts with capital letter and the sentence ends with full stop. So always start your summary with capital letter. Okay? Start your summary with capital letter and end with full stop. No full stop in the middle. Okay, so full stop is this one. Okay, no full stop in the middle because the task is not going to be marked then. Okay, and the other thing you need to know is you will have 10 minutes for each summarized written text. If, let's say, for example, you have 3 texts to summarize, you will have 30 minutes. So the time is really good. I mean, it's kind of a generous task. The time is not a problem at all. What you need to do is actually you need to be careful with the content. And now we are going to know what the content is and how we can get the most of the content. So are you okay with these notes? Actually, these notes are available on your worksheets as well. So if you look at the first page of your worksheet, in the task overview section, you will see that all these notes are written there. Okay, now we're going to go a bit deeper and we are going to go through the marking of task. As you know, marking of PTE tasks is quite different from other tests. In fact, each test has a unique marking scheme and PTE is of course one of them. So marking scheme of summarized written text. Your summary, the summary that you produce out of the text is marked and is assessed in 4 different areas. The first area is content. And in the content section, the maximum score is 2, then 1, then 0. So what do we mean by content? Content means the key points mentioned in the text. Were you able to reflect the key points mentioned in the text in your summary? If you can reflect, like for example, 3 or 4 key points of the text in your summary and maybe providing some supporting ideas, then the content is 2 because you could reflect everything. If you refer to some key points of the content, it is not 2, it is 1. But if the text is totally misunderstood, which means the text is something but the candidate is writing something else, then in this case the content is 0. The second area of marking for summarizing the written text is form of your presentation, which is marked either 1 or 0, and it has only actually two levels of marking. What is the form of presentation? If you remember, I told you we have word limitation in summarizing the written text, means minimum 5, maximum 75. And sentence limitation as well. You can only use one sentence. So if your summary is anything between 5 words to 75 words and it is written in one sentence, it means the form is 1. But if your summary is less than 5 words or more than 75 words, it is 0. So please be careful when you are typing up your text, when you are doing your task on computer. At the same time, look at the word count, because you must make sure that you are following and you are consistent with the criteria of the test, which is 5 to 75. So very easily you can get 1 in this area of marking if you write like 5 to 75 words. Sometimes the students say, is it necessary to make it exactly 75 words? Does it give us any added point? The answer is no, because when the range of words is anything between 5 to 75, means even 50 is fine, 55 is fine. But what is important is content, and there are still 2 more areas to go. Okay, thank you. And just be careful with the form of your presentation. Rather than number of words, which is important, capitalization is also important. If you write, for example, if by mistake the caps lock of your keyboard is on, and if you write down and if you type up the summary with capital letters, it is 0. Because, you know, capitalization in English has rules, so you must know the rules of capitalization. You can't write everything in capital letter. So in the form of presentation, number of words and capital letters. Make sure you start your sentence, you start your summary with the first letter of the first word being capitalized, and then the rules of capitalization is actually very specific in English. Like, for example, the first letter of people's name, name of cities, name of buildings, name of places, proper nouns. So they should be capitalized. Rather than that, no, we don't do that. Okay, thank you. The third area of marking, so this was first, second, and the third. The third area of marking for summarizing the written text is grammar. Just like content, grammar is marked in 3 areas: 2, 1, 0, which means the maximum score you may get for the grammar in this part is 2, the minimum is 0. So obviously, if the grammatical structure is correct and there is no grammatical mistake, it is 2. If there is some grammatical errors, but the message is clearly conveyed and is clearly communicated, it is 1. If the grammatical mistake or error is so significant that, for example, the reader cannot understand the text or the sentence, then it is 0. Okay, so if everything is perfect, it is 2. For some mistakes, it is 1. For like significant grammatical mistakes, it is 0. And the last area is vocabulary. So like grammar and content, vocabulary is scored in 3 areas: 2, 1, 0. So if you have proper word choice, for sure it is 2. If your word choice is relatively okay, not 100%, it is 1. But if you have significant word choice errors, it is 0, because in this case, the message is not understood. Your text is not understood. So be careful with these 4 areas of marking. So together, the maximum score which could be given to a summarized written text is 7. 2, 1, 2, 2, 7. So this is the maximum point you can get. Okay, thank you. And of course, all the notes are available on the first page of your worksheet. Now, let's go to the next level of this task, which is categories of text and the areas of text, popular areas of text. So in summarizing written text, you can now turn to page 2 of your worksheet. In summarizing the written text, There are generally three categories. What do we mean by category, and how does it help to improve your score, and how does it help to unlock the task structure? Categories of texts. So because for this task you have a text, you will be given something to read and then to summarize it. We need to know that, for example, which areas are more popular and more common in this part. The first category is present narrative, which is a popular category for this part. So, what is a present narrative category in summarizing the written text? As the name suggests, present narrative means an event that is happening in present time, or the narration of something in present time. And how do we know, for example, a text is present narrative? How do we know that? Yes, grammar. Grammar tells us whether it is past or present. So, frequent grammar for present tense in English is simple present, present perfect, present continuous tense. So these three types of grammar: simple present, present perfect, and present continuous. Look, it doesn't mean, for example, present narrative text must have 100% of its grammatical structure in these three tenses. No. It means the biggest part of grammar, or the biggest group of grammar for a text, is in these categories. Then in this case, it is a present narrative. Okay? Let's say, for example, the effects of technology on the music industry. So technology is a very recent trend. And the effects of technology on the music industry, for sure, we are expecting to get something in present time. Now, as an activity, what you need to do is, you need to turn to page 2 of your worksheet, section 3, reading categories, part 1, present narrative. There is a sample text here. I want you to spend 1 minute, go through the text and highlight or underline any grammatical structure which refers to present tense. Okay? Finish? Done the activity? Now let's review the answers together. Music has been an essential part of human culture. Has been. Present perfect tense. An essential part of human culture as an art, source of entertainment, and a way for those talented at the performing arts to make a living. The field of music, similar to the field of journalism, is simple present. Is one that has been rapidly growing. Has been rapidly growing is present perfect continuous tense. So present perfect continuous tense is very close to present perfect tense. Present perfect continuous. And again, it indicates, refers to an action. I'm so sorry, I just made a little bit of mess here. Done. Okay, and it refers to an action that is like happening now. That has been rapidly growing and progressing with the introduction of quickly advancing technologies and the internet. Okay, so as you see, the biggest part of this text is based on present tenses of English. Okay, thank you. Now, what is the second category of text? Past narrative. What is past narrative? Let's take a look at past narrative together. Yes, as the name suggests, past narrative means like narration of something that happened in the past. So, past narrative. Narration of something that happened in the past, or explaining something that happened in the past. And past narrative uses past grammar. In present narrative, we have present grammar. In past narrative, we have past grammar. Like, for example, simple past, past perfect, past continuous. Like, for example, a simple topic for past narrative category could be how people communicated over long distances before phone and email was invented. For sure, something in the past. Look, what is the significance of knowing these categories and unlocking these categories? The first and the most important significance is that if you know the category, you will put and you will base your writing in compatible structure with the original text, okay? It means within the 10 minutes that you have to read and to write your summary, you don't have to look for the grammar. When you know that, okay, there are generally 3 areas of text in summarizing the written text, then you know that the passages can come from any of these 3, and it makes it easier for you to base your grammar in proper way and compatible with the original text. And as you know, grammar is like one of the most important areas of marking. Now, past narrative refers to an action in the past, which like is reflected with past tenses in English. Again, 1 minute, go through the sample text on page 2, part 2, past narrative. Try to highlight and underline all past structures. Okay? Yes. Let's take a look at the first sentence together. If you are speaking of technology, people use letters as the main mode of communication because other kinds were very expensive. So here we have 2 past tenses. Used letters and were very expensive, okay? So, and if you go through the passage, you will see that yes, the passage is all based on past, and now we know that, okay, we need to reflect and we need to write and we need to present the grammar in the body of a past tense. Thank you. Now, take a look at your handout, please. Page 2, part 3. What is the third area? What is the third area and third category of text? Number 3 is problem solution, which is very popular. What is a problem solution category in summarizing the written text? In fact, as the name suggests, problem solution means you will be given a passage with 1, 2, 3, or 4 paragraphs, and a problem is stated in this passage, plus a solution is given. This is a very basic definition of problem solution passages. But sometimes in problem solution passages, we have other elements as well. So let's say this is the problem. Sometimes the passage explains causes or reasons of that particular problem as well. What has led to this problem? Okay? And then with this problem, what are the effects or consequences? Okay? And now that we know the reason, we know the problem, we know the consequences. So, what is the solution? So, if we have a 100% perfect problem solution category, we do expect to get all these 4 points. Sometimes it's just cause, problem, and solution. Sometimes it is problem, consequence, and solution. But just know that if there is a problem, there's always a solution. They're identical. You can't have a passage with a problem without a solution, okay? Now, how do we know a passage is problem solution? There are several ways to know and to unlock the structure of this kind of passages. The first one is paying attention to modal verbs. So, problem, solution. Paying attention to modal verbs helps you actually to get the solution part, because we make suggestion and we offer solution using certain grammar in English. For example, should, need to, or even must if it is much stronger. Okay? And sentence structure. sentence structure changes as well. So for example, if, unless, two very famous ones for making suggestion, okay? And where do they come? Generally in the last part of the paragraph. Generally in a paragraph that we have like problem, we need to be sensitive as we keep reading, and as we go down to the end of the paragraph, we must be sensitive, because the solution appears at the end of the paragraph, where the problem is stated. Sometimes the consequences are also explained. Now we do expect a solution, and with the solution part, we must be sensitive to some words, like for example, should, need to, must, or if, unless. Now, as an activity, please take a look at page 2, part 3, problem solution. Sample topic, dealing with cyberbullying. So the name suggests that, okay, dealing with means finding a way to solve the problem or tackling, okay? Now, 1 minute, please read this text and try to highlight problem solution. And if it explains reasons or consequences, go for that one as well. 1 minute, go for it, please. Thank you. Yeah, done? Okay, so what is the problem part here? The problem is cyberbullying, as the passage is explaining. It's line 2. Technology means that bullying is no longer limited to schoolyards or street corners. Cyberbullying can occur. So this is the problem. And the second, by the start of the second sentence, we get to know that the problem is stated. And when you keep reading by, like for example, line even 3, 4, 5, they are all the details of cyberbullying. Now, please turn to page 3, the first line of page 3. Take a look at sentence. Videos can be shown in classrooms on the harmful effects of bullying and portray the act as a crime rather than a harmless act. So, can be shown is making suggestions, so we add can here as well. Okay, so it's making suggestion. We know that, okay, we are getting closer to the solution part or to the suggestion part, and this is for sure problem solution. And in order to get the maximum point in content, you must write problem and solution. So be careful with your word limit. Do not write 60 words on problem and 10 words on solution. Make it balance. Make sure that you are spending fair amount of your summary, like for example on problem and on the solution part. Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to go through some very general tips and strategies for this part, like summarize written text, and we're going to do some tasks together as well. Once you sit the test and once the paragraph appears on the screen, please skim through the paragraph kind of quickly, maybe in 10 seconds, just to get an idea. Okay, in 10 seconds, just move your eyes very quickly to get an idea what's it about. And then when you are going to read the paragraph kind of deeper, to summarize it, you need to pay attention to, yes, you need to pay attention to the way ideas are linked together. For example, to the linkers such as in addition, furthermore, besides. Okay, so we don't need this one. So, linkers, you need to pay attention to them, okay? For example, in addition, furthermore. Let's say, for example, the passage just uses beside. Uses these 3 linkers, and let's say, for example, in the middle of the paragraph, you come across this one, although, however. So, this is a different actually idea, isn't it? Because we know that the first 3, in addition, furthermore, and beside, they are used for addition, means we use them to add to our ideas and to elaborate more on our ideas. And our ideas are in one line, they support each other. But although and however are used to show contrast, means to look at the other side of the story. So if you have this kind of conjunctions or linkers in your passage, make sure that you are reading the ideas that come after, because the ideas that come after these contrasting conjunctions go to the content of your presentation and are important, of course. Let's say, for example, 2/3 of the passage uses like parallel supporting ideas, and suddenly in the last part you come across this one. So of course it's important, and so make your eyes sensitive to linkers once you are reading and actually you are going to summarize it. And then, as I told you at the beginning of this lecture, be careful with your punctuation. Make sure the first letter of the first word is capitalized and you end with full stop. And do not use full stop in the middle. However, you definitely need to punctuate your text properly. For example, using comma, you cannot write 75 words with one full stop at the end. You must be able to use comma, to use semicolons. In order to know the rules of punctuation, you can download the worksheet related to punctuation from online PTE. It's available, so download it and read it and try to apply it and try to use it in your writing. And in order to manage your time and number of words, avoid unnecessary examples. Examples are generally not necessary to be written. Sometimes students find it very difficult to write one summary in the first go, which is not really easy for some candidates, especially fresh test takers who haven't taken the test before. In this case, I would recommend, I say, okay, read the text, try to write 3 or 4 sentences, separate sentences. Do not worry at all. Just write 3 to 4 sentences and try to link them and connect them together. So make sure, for example, if the passage has got 4 paragraphs, read each paragraph carefully and try to write a short summary of each paragraph. And at the end, try to link them together. And if this is the case, you need to be careful. You have only 10 minutes, okay? So, 2 minutes for reading, 4 minutes for writing, and 4 minutes for checking. Just know that checking is really important, otherwise you may not get the score that you want. So I've done one for you here. Let's take a look and see how, when we have like 4 paragraphs, we can summarize each paragraph separately and then we can link the ideas together. If you look at page 4 of your worksheets, you will see a passage, quite long, lengthy passage with 4 separate paragraphs. And I summarize each paragraph for you here. Take a look at paragraph 1. The summary of paragraph 1 is, due to widespread use of English in many fields, it is one of the most widely spoken languages. Stop here. Let's go to paragraph 2. The summary of paragraph 2 is, very few native speakers can speak a second language. So these 2 sentences are not yet connected. They are like separate sentences. Summary of paragraph 3. In non-English countries in Europe, over 50% of people are bilingual, means those who speak 2 languages. And the last paragraph, which is the shortest one, there is a need to learn English. So here we have 4 separate sentences, and now we are going to link and connect them together. Look at these orange parts, the parts written with orange marker. These are the parts that I added to connect the ideas together, to make them a text, to make them a coherent and complete text to read. So, the whole summary. Due to widespread use of English in many fields, pay attention to punctuation as well, it is one of the most widely spoken languages, and this probably accounts for the fact that very few native speakers can speak a second language, comma. Whereas in non-English speaking countries in Europe, over 50% of people are bilingual, comma, which means there is a need to learn English. So this is the summary of the text. All 4 points are mentioned, connected together, and the number of words, 57 words. Okay, so you will be doing the same practice, you will be following the same approach when you find a text and even you find a passage quite challenging. Try to summarize each paragraph separately and then connect the ideas together. Just one more thing, and just very important thing to remember, is that sometimes in passages with some paragraphs, not all paragraphs need to be summarized. And how can we know that? Could you please turn to page 5 of your worksheet? On page 5 of your worksheet, you have a passage with 3 paragraphs, and passage is quite lengthy, not too much, but yes, it's quite long passage. I want you to spend 1 minute, skim through the paragraphs and passage quickly. Pause the video. Okay, how did you go? Yes. If you look at the first paragraph of this passage, you will see that actually the passage is explaining a problem. And the problem that the passage is explaining is economic migration, and is explaining the causes related to economic migration and some solutions which could kind of moderate the trend of economic migration. So it seems as if everything is mentioned here, but we still have 2 more paragraphs. Let's take a look at paragraph 2. Look at paragraph 2. In global inequality from class to location, from proletarian to migrants, Branko Milanovic of the University of Maryland and the rest. The first sentence is in italic, which is a different font, which means this particular paragraph is using kind of reference, is referring to someone else's work to support the idea, something that we do when we write for academic purposes. So that is a detail, and if you remember, I told you try to avoid too many details. You don't need really details to support your idea because it's a short summary of maximum 75 words. So we can easily skip and we can easily ignore this paragraph. So one key thing, if you see, for example, name of books, name of journal articles, which are always typed with a different font and format, you can know that, oh, okay, this part is going to refer to details, and then because you don't really need too many details, you can easily ignore it. And take a look at the last paragraph. Not only in the overall inequality between world citizens greater in the early 21st century, and it continues, but what happens is that the paragraph starts with a quotation mark and it ends with a quotation mark as well. So the whole paragraph is in quotation mark, and if you go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, line 5 of this paragraph where it says finds the report, it means again this paragraph is referring to the same report, which is again detail and doesn't need to be mentioned. So here we have a text with 3 paragraphs, but we only summarize 1 paragraph, which is the first paragraph. And in the first paragraph you have the problem, causes related to the problem, and solution. That's it. The rest is just supporting ideas for the problem stated in the first paragraph. Okay, so just remember, persistency, consistency, and perseverance are the key drivers to success. So make sure to keep up with the course outline and to submit your homework on time. Your teachers are waiting for you. Bye for now.